Star Wars: Aperian Insurrection. Written by L.B.A. E. Ross. It has been more than a decade since the conflict known as the Clone Wars ravaged the galaxy. In its place, a new order arose to secure and defend a war-torn galaxy, the Galactic Empire. Inaugurated as its first emperor, His Imperial Majesty, Emperor Palpatine, has begun a new era under the most powerful force in galactic history. The vast armada of the Imperial Starfleet continues to expand the Empire's reach system by system. Its armies of Imperial troops fight to bring worlds into the fold and to maintain control on worlds that would rebel against the new order. To that end, the Imperial military grows ever larger, its armies and ships more numerous, its warriors ever stronger. In the days ahead, the soldiers of the Empire will have to face threats more cunning and lethal than they can imagine. Even now, traitors and revolutionaries begin to fan the flames of revolt against the Emperor's regime. And it will be up to the soldiers of the Empire to fight to maintain law and order throughout the galaxy at any cost. You are part of the greatest navy ever assembled. The might of the Empire rests on the military, and the Imperial Navy embodies the most elite and trusted segment of that power. Only the best, the most disciplined, are admitted to our ranks. We who serve the Emperor in the Imperial Navy have made this empire the irresistible, galaxy-spanning force it is today. Excerpt from Academy Cadet Indoctrination speech delivered by Fleet Admiral Holt. Chapter 1. Attention! Came the order from the stage overlooking the assembly on the landing field of the Imperial base on Kalada. Those assembled on the Duracrete stood to parade ground attention in their resplendent black uniforms, their rank insignia glistening in the bright midday sun. Everyone assembled was already sweating as the twin suns of the world combined to make their heads glisten under their caps. They all, however, hid their discomfort behind a mask of professionalism instead of the flight helmets they were accustomed to, for the men and women assembled were the elite flyers of the Galactic Empire. They were TIE fighter pilots. Not just any pilots, they were part of a special unit, a unit with a history and a legacy that they were partaking in even now at this ceremony. The unit had been forged in battle during the upheaval of the Clone Wars, forged from obscurity by a group of daring pilots who had set out to defend their home and their republic, whose leader was a living legend who had earned his place in history among aces like Vindu Barvel and Shea Hublin. These men and women looked on without caring about the heat. The only heat they could feel was the fire roiling inside their guts as they looked at the stage and at its assembled officers. For their commander was leaving them. Standing in the center of the group was their wing commander, the man everyone in the unit aspired to be. They all looked on as Lieutenant Colonel Tan Arod Elakla stepped up to the podium. He still cut a dashing figure even with his age, with black hair going grey at the sides, reddish-brown eyes, an almost confident smile was common to see under his short black beard. He, however, did not smile, for this was serious business. He stood resplendent in his full-dress uniform, along with the other officers. On his chest, he wore his service medals, which reflected in the sunlight. "Stand at ease," the colonel ordered, and the group in unison came to parade rest. On his chest hung the Medal of Valor and the Medal of Honor. The first award he'd earned, fighting under the Republic, the latter under the Empire. Under his rank plaque, hung from left to right, the Medal of Order, the Medal of Victory, the Medal of Unity, the Medal of Loyalty, and the Medal of Liberty. All of these blue, red, and gold colors stood out proudly on his black uniform, complemented by his blue and gold lieutenant colonel rank insignia. Over all of his decorations, tied neatly around his neck, was his trademark white scarf, which was billowing in the heated day's breeze. He looked out on the assembled pilots and technicians, his gaze seeming to reach every one of them in the moment. Then he spoke, his voice amplified to cover the whole landing field, even as camera droids looked on from a distance to record the whole thing. 30 years, I've been a starfighter pilot. I've flown for longer than all of you put together. But it's been a memorable time. It's been more than I could ask for to have made it this far in my career. This unit stands testament not only to war, but our commitment to peace and justice that is the driving force of all armed forces. No one in this service has things tougher than us, but that's why we fight. To be the toughest, to be the best. And it's my hope that when I go, you will all still be the best and make me proud. This unit started out as a small system defense force on my homeworld of Immorus. Small bands pirates were our breakfast, and still are. But this unit that brought fire and steel to those pirates would face a bigger challenge. The Crimson Raiders still in this wing are few and far between. Most of them now back home in the end. But back then, we were young, brash pilots too. Our adventure began with fighting off raiding fleets trying to push their way into the Inner Rim via the Trellan trade route, their objective to capture outlying systems along the route to prepare the way for a larger invasion. We lived up to our name not only with our tactics, but also with our Z-95's laser cannons. We tore through man and droid both, to hold out as many others did at that time across the galaxy. I led charge after charge against enemy bases, and our unit gained local fame. Arod's Raiders were a household name in our part of the Inner Rim. When Republic forces made an effort to push the CIS in the region, the Crimson Raiders followed alongside them, launching hit-and-run attacks ahead of the main attack force. But the name that made me was the Admiral Perdue, a dreadnought heavy cruiser we rescued from a band of SEP cruisers. When we escorted her back to friendly space, I met with the man who would make me a hero, an aide of our future Emperor, fresh from secret negotiations trying to win support for the Republic. He thanked me vociferously for the rescue, and by the end of the week, I set foot in the core for the first time. I saw the jewel cityscape of Coruscant, and in front of more people than I think I'll ever see again, I became what all pilots aspire to be. An ace of aces, a Tarn. The colonel then turned and indicated to the officer on his right. Throughout this fight, I'm proud to have had my daughter fighting at my side. You all know her as Major Harissa Elakla, Rose Princess, or Sir. This elicited some laughter from the men, all of whom had experienced the seriousness and skill of the colonel's daughter whipping them in the simulators. She was 19 when I formed the Crimson Raiders. She took up a vac suit and kept me out of trouble as many times as I had to drag her out of it. But I won't be around to do that anymore. She's old enough that it will be you that she's going to keep pulling out of trouble. Beside him, Harissa gave her father a cocked grin, which convinced him to continue his speech without sidetracking. With the war's end, the Imperial Starfighter Corps came to be, and the brass saw fit to offer me command of a starfighter wing. I accepted the offer, and the heroic Crimson Raiders became the 388th Crimson Shield, a true fighting unit. We bid farewell to our old Z-95 headhunters and traded them for brand new CNR TIE fighters. For the next 6 years, the Crimson Shield continued to serve with distinction in the Imperial Navy. But for some reason, I think the Navy was keen to keep me alive. I found myself having to give lectures at Imperial academies, which I know most of you attended, or remaining aboard the destroyer Ferocious while you all went out to have all the fun. Then before I knew it, a few months ago, we were given over to the army. This was met by collective murmurs and shuffling in the crowd. Recently, the Imperial Army had successfully lobbied for the Imperial Navy to begin assigning TIE units to its planetary garrisons and to Army Corps. The Army was determined not only to have its own pilots, but experienced ones to help train and safeguard its important installations and support surface actions. This had troubled those units, who had been forced into not only transferring to permanent groundside duty, but also having to downsize. The 388th had downsized from 72 fighters to 40 ships, as the Navy was determined to hold onto every tie it could. This changed a lot of things. With this, a lot of the old-timers decided now was time to retire. But I stayed on, because I had something more to do before I had to go. During this time, I've had Major Elakler spearhead the reform of the unit. She's the one who selected you, selected your fighters, and named your units. I've been preparing for this for some time, and I've watched as she's trained the raw recruits into the next generation of Imperial pilots. This moment has been a long time in coming, and the next generation has a new leader. The whole crowd looked on anxiously as their commander spoke again. It is with great pride that my final official act as Wing Commander of the 388th is that I have the honor of bestowing the promotion of Major Harissa Elakler to Lieutenant Colonel. The assembled officers clapped as the colonel turned to face his daughter as she stepped up and shook his hand before returning salutes. Then Captain Asnin Brace stepped forward as the colonel withdrew a rank insignia plaque from his jacket. His Imperial Majesty, Emperor Palpatine, has placed special trust and confidence in the patriotism, integrity, and abilities of Major Harissa Elakler. The captain recited aloud at the podium as the Major's rank insignia was removed and replaced. Major Harissa Elakler is hereby promoted to the grade of Lieutenant Colonel, Imperial Pilot Corps. Congratulations, Lieutenant Colonel, Tanarod Elakler said, and saluted once more.